What's up, guys? Dylan Rush here with Cage Side Press, joined today by a former UFC fighter and now head coach of Archie Colgan in the Bellator lightweight division, Mr. Justin J-Bomb Salas. How you doing, Justin?
Doing great, man. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, man. Long time coming. So we're coming off Bellator 293 fight week. Another great victory for Archie. Stays undefeated, 7-0, first round finish. What'd you make of that fight, and how was your fight week?
The fight was great, man. I mean, obviously it was a good high. He had a great performance. Everything went well. The week of the fight, he had some adversity, right? So the weight cut was a little rough, so that was different. We watched him get through that, and then also another new element that we dealt with was just the mental warfare. You know what I mean? So he hasn't really seen that yet. So it was good to see him go through that and not get too crazy. Um, that does spike your emotion, spikes the intensity, which I like. I like to see
Mhm.
how he responds to that because he responded well. And nothing against Montalvo and them guys because mental warfare it's a real thing, man. It gets people pulled out of their game plans and so it's something that you have to be prepared to deal with.
So not a huge problem with the antics, with the things he was saying up there during weigh-ins. It's all part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was kind of, taking shots at our teammates. So, the fighters take that to heart, and we all do. But like I said in the back, in the end of the day, you got to realize, we talked to him after the fight, and it is mental warfare. So, it's cool. But I almost thank him for it because it that put the intensity of that fight and also the anticipation of the crowd and the fans on edge for that one, which is a great thing.
100%. So you yourself, University of Wyoming wrestler, great wrestling in high school, college. Archie, also University of Wyoming wrestler, but he's out here getting finishes, swinging and banging in his last couple of fights. Do you think that's what the fans want to see? Do you think it makes for an exciting fight, a wrestler that gets all these first round finishes and these knockouts?
Yeah, I mean it always is, and it's not all wrestlers that can transfer over as smooth, as Archie has, and he has God given knockout power that he had from the day I met him. Now we're just teaching him how to be able to use it and use it more efficiently for potentially in the future here 5 rounds. We want power for 5 rounds, but we're not going to get away from the wrestling. But when a fight starts, whatever happens. So you can, I try to tell him before this fight more than anything is just get subconscious. So I didn't want him thinking I got to wrestle or I got to strike. You just got to feel the range, feel what's happening, and you need to go subconscious because you really can't be thinking there. And that's, when you're there, that's just all the reps you've done and all the training you've done. That's what comes out. So there's no, you don't even know what you're going to do. And even when you do something spectacular, you didn't even know you're going to do that. Just it's subconscious. So we're trying to tap into that more and more for him.
Definitely. So the day before the fight, when they announced that a fight dropped out, someone had visa issues, and Archie's getting moved to the main card. What's the overall emotion of the team? How did you guys feel about that? And did you expect Archie to be on a main card so soon after starting out in Bellator, within the last year or so?
Well, I had a hunch that if he kept finishing people, we were going to pop into that main card somehow. Um, and we were pretty happy that at least they have bumped us up each fight. From like the first, second fight into the middle, and then this time was supposed to be like the main event of the undercard,
Mhm.
which was is usually still a pretty good spotlight. But to be bumped up to the main card, yeah, that just got us really excited, and it just made me really happy that he's going to get that exposure. You know what I mean? And then, but at the same time, there's just a tad more pressure too. Now, this performance means just a little bit more, right? And not to say that they don't always, but when you get your chance, you got to seize the opportunities, right? So that now they're going to probably not worry about putting Archie on main cards.
Definitely. Uh, you yourself have fought an undefeated fighter. Archie just fought the undefeated Justin Montalvo. You fought Joe Ellenberger. He was 12-0. You fought a couple undefeated fighters. Is the game plan different going into a fight with someone that's undefeated when there's no blueprint or a specific blueprint on how to beat this guy? Or is it all the same? It's just another fight.
Really, it's just another fight. There isn't a blueprint. You're right. So, we did kind of dig into some film on that kid because we did have some. And this is the first fight we've actually had at camp to train for someone without it flipping around a couple times, which is just part of the game. But so we were looking for some tendencies and trying to just put ourselves in good position to stay safe from the tendencies we've seen, and then also be another 50% ready for. We know he's going to learn new stuff, right? We also knew that we fought his teammate, so they had data to gather from that, which means they're going to. We took a look at that fight to see, even from their side, okay, if we were them, where would we say we're gonna exploit us, right?
Mhm.
I know he had almost got caught with a flying knee at one point that got close to his chin. I kind of thought maybe they were gonna try to utilize some of that because Archie comes down the middle hard when he's wrestling, So then we also game planned on, when we close the gap, we come off to the shoulders, so that even if that is their game plan, then it's already done.
Oh, okay. This is another fight week. You, Grant, Peter, Archie, you guys have formed a really great team. It seems like you guys are all very close and close knit. What can you tell me about the team? Is it really gelling? Is it meshing? Is it getting better each fight week?
Yeah, it is a pretty interesting. We started together, and yeah, we've gotten used to each other and how we all do things, and I think we've all kind of taken our role. Um, you know, Grant's kind of the hype man for Archie, keeps him believing in himself and all that. Peter's the real disciplined guy, real structured kind of guy, and I'm more of like the you know flowing kind of creative kind of coach. So yeah, we've all got apart and we kind of gel. We're learning how to gel real good through the week of the fight and everything like that. So yeah, each fight. It seems like we all get closer and closer. We've all known each other and been close before, but when you start going through the process, it just starts to mean a little more.
That had to be my favorite celebration, fight victory celebration that I've ever seen live. Tell me real quick, who came up with that? Was that you? Was that Peter? Or was that just Archie?
That's all Archie. That's all Archie right there. We have him visualize, do the hands up stuff. He's even went as far as to show us, here's what's going on if I win, when I win, here's what's going on. And I remember he showed us once, we all laughed. I totally forgot about it. Props to Grant though, because when Archie was ready to do that, the Bellator guys were kind of holding us back, because you're a little excited. They don't want you to get up there. Well, Grant came through there like a fullback and just like drug the security guards halfway up the stairs just to get Archie that bottle of water.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was thinking in my head, what are you doing, Grant? And then after fact, I was like, oh, good looking out. You were making sure he had his celebration water. So
That's
that was cool.
I wish I could have seen Grant. He was probably, yeah, he told me about it earlier before the fight, but yeah, that was really cool to see.
Oh, that was funny.
And that picture that my friend got was amazing. Uh,
That was crazy. Yeah, that was great.
that was going. All right, I love talking about Archie. I could talk about Archie all day, but I want to talk to you about yourself real quick, if that's cool.
Cool.
Born and raised in Wyoming. How did you get into wrestling originally? Was it a family member? Was it early on? How did you find wrestling?
Oh, good. Funny story. Yeah, so I played football for a guy named Billy Hodges in like I think seventh and eighth grade. I had thought about wrestling, had cousins that were wrestlers, but I really wasn't very tough yet. I was a good athlete. I was kind of scared of wrestling. I did go out like my eighth grade year or something, and I think that the high school wrestling coach had me in football, and I was, a pretty tough football player. So he had, um, kind of touched base with me on like, hey, you should wrestle. Um, of course, at that point, I was like, no, I'm gonna be a basketball player, right? And so then he was like, well, since you're 5'7" and you can't jump, all right, maybe you should try to wrestle, right? And I was like, I was gonna play basketball, and he kept asking me. And then one day he says, how about this? If I'll play you one on one, if I beat you, you have to come out for the first week of wrestling. So we played, and he's a short little guy, but if anyone who knows that he has this dumb little hook shot that he goes to the side, and it's like never misses. And he beat me like no problem. So I had to go out for wrestling, and then I mean from there, then I think he started me like my eighth grade year, summer or something like that, freshman year. And by the time I was a sophomore, I won the title. So he was a super good coach as well, D1 guy. But that's how I started wrestling. And then I realized that, oh yeah, this is probably what I should be, and I started falling in love with wrestling, and then that led to college wrestling, fighting, all that.
Wait, what was his name? Hodges? What's his first name?
His name is Billy Hodges. He's a legend wrestling coach in the Green River, Rock Springs area. He also is assistant wrestling coach to the Western Wyoming Mustangs, who won my other good friends, Art Castillo coaches. They just won the national title in JUCO. Them two, they're just master coaches. And he started me long ago, won tons of state titles from my high school We were like fifth in the country when I was a senior, and it was all because of that, man. And then now he's winning national titles with my one of my best friends, Art Castillo, at Western Wyoming. So super special wrestling pedigree there. That's kind of where I came from, and they made me tough pretty quick because they put a lot of time into me.
So he sounds like a great guy and a great coach, but let me just get this straight. So you're telling me if it wasn't for Billy Hodges' unguardable hook shot, there's a chance that you would have never wrestled, never gone to fighting, never gone to coaching. Your whole life could have been different.
Oh, that's 100%. I was a basketball player, but I wasn't very good.
So you lose the one-on-one game, you go on to wrestle. Two-time state champion in high school, two-time All-American, Dave Schultz High School Hall of Fame Award recipient, very successful high school wrestling career.
Right,
And
right.
then you go and wrestle at D1 at University of Wyoming from 2000 to 2003, but you
Yep.
dropped out. Is this true? You dropped out to pursue a career in MMA.
I wouldn't even say that. I would just say that was a tough part of my life. It took me a long time to forgive myself for that, as anyone will tell you who has that opportunity and doesn't finish it, right? Just no excuses at all, and no one to blame but myself at all. But yeah, so it was kind of a black mark for myself, and didn't finish my college career. Thought I was gonna, thought I didn't want to do it anymore, and like immediately realized that that was not true, and so and went and ended up going right into MMA. Thought about going to wrestle D2 as well, and then I started training and fighting, and then I realized that was where I was gonna go. So you know a lot of people who go all the way through their college careers and have success. I don't know if I would have went to MMA, maybe I'd have been satisfied. But that I realized after I quit there that it was something I needed in my life. It just mentally kept me balanced, working out and all that stuff. As you get older, you start to know yourself, and I'm a certain kind of person that needs that to stay mentally healthy and just to be working towards things. So I realized that and went into MMA. Did my career there, and then still to this day, I love to be around the art of the martial arts. You know what I mean? Wrestling's a martial art, and that I think even long ago that was kind of my mindset. Is I love the art of it. The counter to the counter, all the moves, how they gel together, just the martial arts part
Mhm.
of it. Maybe just a little bit low on the raw, just let's fight everybody type of personality. So I feel like coaching is kind of maybe even a better fit than even doing it was for me. So hopefully I can keep developing and keep building these guys up.
Definitely. But you had a very successful MMA career, I would say. 12-7 record, 3 wins in the UFC. You have wins over Rob Everson, a guy that I talked to. Joe Ellenberger was undefeated. Aaron Riley. You were booked to fight Edson Barbosa at one point, which I had no idea about. That's awesome. Were you
Yeah.
happy with your MMA career looking back?
I mean, you got to be proud with what you did. I guess that wasn't the outcome I wanted. Obviously, I was there to try to be a world champion, and it's just I feel like that all that stuff led up to this to where it's helping me. Some of the mistakes I made, or maybe the things I felt like I could have done better at, I'm able to pass that on to these younger guys and help them out. So looking back now, I'm proud of myself, and what I did there, and I totally understand where it fits into my journey now. Um, there for I mean, to tell you the truth, there for a year or two after, I was not, I didn't even want to watch fights or anything. But I think if you talk to a lot of people who, when they're finished, they'd maybe do that for a short amount of time, and then but coaching is just so satisfying. Just seeing these guys, and also just using all that knowledge that I have instead of just having it sitting there and not using it. You know what I mean? I'm actually passing it on, letting these guys develop it into whatever it's going to be for them, and that's kind of a journey in itself that you can pass on to people.
I like the way you look at it. Like it's all part of the journey. Anything that happens, the good, the bad, it's all part of the journey. It's all part of what got you here. It's a good mindset.
Yep.
So when you retired from your mixed martial arts career, is that when you got into coaching, or were you coaching wrestling prior to that?
I've always been coaching slightly. Even when I was competing myself, there was a really tough kid from Wyoming named Nick Mamas that I helped a little bit and cornered. Multiple fighters locally I helped, cornered. Also, our buddy Luke, who works in Gaethje's corner. I had been in his corners, so I'd been cornered and been in it. And then, like I said, I think my love for the art, like a lot of I gelled really good with Trevor Whitman, who showed me a lot of like skillful footwork and stuff that I really just thought was amazing and took to. So then I started teaching some other young fighters that stuff and realized that I could actually get them to be able to do this stuff. So I was like, oh, I can coach, and then as you do it more and more, you start to love it even more. But then, once I got with Archie and realized that, we can make this world championship stuff, it kind of kicked off a whole new world for me to, and even as right now, I'm still developing from the help of numerous people around us. We got a great resource of people and fighters right here in Denver. So, just being in it for a while, I learned a lot of things from Dwayne Ludwig, from Nate Marquardt when I was training with them, and from Trevor Whitman, from also all the way back to my wrestling coaches, Matt Johnson, Billy Hodges. Just I've seen a lot of good coaches. I've seen a lot of people be developed. And so I feel like that's given me like a real strong base to pull from to try to hone myself as a coach.
Having the right people around you, that's half the battle, right? I mean, that's really
Absolutely.
what, yep. Grant
Absolutely.
was just telling me about Nate Marquardt and how Nate has helped him a lot too. But you mentioned Trevor Whitman. We talked a little bit about Trevor Whitman last week. You talked about how he took a few guys. He was focusing all of his attention on a few guys, building up a few guys. Meanwhile, there are other gyms out there that have so many people, such a big roster that they can't put as much focus as they maybe would like to on some of their fighters. Do you feel like when the time is right? I know you're pretty much, you maybe have some other guys, but you're pretty much fully focused on Archie right now. I feel like when the time is right, do you feel like you might add some other fighters to your team?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the future holds that for me. I'll still, just like I said, got advice from people and seen some things, and I do believe that just focusing on a few is where it's at for me, especially right now at the point I'm at in my life. But I can definitely see myself developing into a small group coach. And I love to work with everybody, and the people who are already in the UFC are already accomplished. I would love to work with them and collaborate with them, but I don't see myself trying to be like, oh, this new UFC champion wants to be me to coach him. I don't see myself doing that. I would rather build them from the ground up. I just kind of feel like that's more comfortable for me,
Mhm.
and kind of what I'd want to do. As far as people who are already built, already have their coaches, have had coaches, I would like to collaborate with them, yes, and work out with a bunch of different people just to pull from, and to just build the whole pool of fighters around me. But yeah, I definitely see myself bringing on maybe in the future one or two more guys or something like that.
100%. Makes sense. Makes sense. So I kind of have the backstory, but I don't have it fully. I need to hear you tell me it. Meeting Archie. So I know you went to University of Wyoming. He went a little bit later. Did you know him while he was wrestling there? And is it true that how he got into MMA, he tells me, is he ran into you randomly at a 24-hour fitness, like a random little gym, LA Fitness or something? And that's when you got into working with him MMA wise?
Yeah, didn't really know him while he was wrestling. Obviously, I wrestled at Wyoming, and I'm a huge Wyoming fan, football, wrestling, and I was following his team with him and Bryce Meredith that
Mhm.
year, a team when they were just crushing it, and they were real contenders on the national stage. So I knew who he was, and I had watched him multiple times, and as well as Bryce. And one day I was teaching for some kickboxing classes in a gym. Also, Luke Cadillo was involved with that. He was the one who was kind of the main guy there, and he needed me to come in to teach some stuff. He helped, so brought me in there, and yeah, I seen him in there just lifting weights, and I ended up talking to him like, "Hey, Archie Colgan, right?" And he said, then that's kind of what started it up, and we were talking, and he knew. Then I let him know I had done some UFC stuff. I think he went and looked at some of my stuff, and then wanted to maybe just start working some hands just for a good workout, and just to kind of chop it up and pass around some martial arts. And then we found out real quick that it was getting real fast. And then in his very first fight, he actually fought a pretty good, like, all-American D2 wrestler, which I wouldn't have probably taken that fight if I would have known for sure. But ended up just finishing him quick. And then we knew, we're like, ooh, he's got all the right tools. This might be something that you can actually take to the next level. And here we are.
I think life is so crazy. Like I think
Yeah.
it's just the craziest little moments. The Billy Hodges one-on-one story that got you into wrestling, and if you didn't have
I'll
like
talk
if
about it.
if you didn't go up to Archie that night, if something was like, you know what, I'm not gonna go bother, I'm not gonna go talk to him or something, who knows what would have happened? He might be at a sales job right now or something. So
Yeah, it's craziness.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's yeah.
so you mentioned it just now, but I wanted to ask you: did you know he was going to be a star from the start? Was it maybe after that first fight you were like, "All right, this is like that was the moment you realized like we got something here"?
Yeah, I think that was like as a coach, and like I said, um, I've had great coaches around me, and I've even got been grateful enough to watch them even like grab onto guys to train and be like, this is the one. Even with like Trevor, even with wrestling coaches, like I said, my high school coaches, seeing all the guys he made tough and kind of the guys he would gravitate to. Um, but once that first fight came in, I realized he had like serious knockout power. And then holding pads for him, I knew that too. And he was also highly coachable. So like the stuff I was showing him, he had it down in like one session, as opposed to, some people, bless their heart. Some people that want to try that stuff, it takes them like 5 months to get that footwork down, and then 3, 4, 5 years later, they're pretty good. And that's the progression. With this guy, it was like I showed it to him, he had it by, or at least in a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
Now and then I was like, whoa, we're progressing. And then even other coaches around me were like, yeah, this guy's pretty good. How long's he been? And he hadn't even had no experience. So we knew that he was on another level. And
Mm-hmm.
what, he not all wrestlers transfer in like that either. Sometimes wrestlers, they're real heavy footed, real stiff and like flexed out for punching. They get tired quick. But he had a knack for nice loose punches and obviously killer instinct and all that. So it's kind of the package that you see. And then that's when I realized, I'll put all my time into this kid, and we'll see what we can do here. Get him around the right people.
Yep. So when you guys met, it was probably mostly, if not all, a work-based relationship. You guys are drilling MMA, helping him. But now, I mean, you guys as kids hang out. I think your guys' kids are hanging out in Pachanga. I know you guys are really close, hanging out outside of the gym. Your relationship is deeper than MMA. It's deeper than the sport. How important do you think that is to have such a strong connection with the guy that you're coaching?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you spend that much time together, all the early mornings, and then just something about some people being there for you when you're in your toughest hour, cutting weight, dying, and then you get through it, and then you have to face this giant challenge, and then you go through it together, and you win, and it's successful, and that builds bonds. You know what I mean? More like we were talking with the other coaches. So yeah, just going through what he's gone through already, it's built a strong bond with us. We know each other's families, and everything like that, and we do. We're not like hanging out every day and doing everything together, because we're still coach and fighter relationship. But yeah, we're super good friends, and I'm sure that's gonna always continue. Whether or not fighting's a crazy journey, and sometimes you gotta try to progress other ways. Maybe one day he'll have to go do some other stuff, but this isn't really about me. It's all about trying to help him complete as much as he can in this short window. You know what I mean? It's a
Mm-hmm.
tiny window. And then also, maybe even trying to guide him into thinking about after this is over, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? And that really isn't totally coming from me, but I'm getting him around the Gaethjes and the other people, the management that he has now. Those are the people that I think are going to help him mold like this into a giant, a lifelong career that is built for after the bells ringing.
Definitely. Definitely. That's great. That's great. I just got two more for you. I know you're a busy man. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
Expectation for 23. Are we gonna see one more fight, two more fights? What's the goals, the hopes? What do you hope to achieve in this year, 2023?
For me as a coach, you know what I mean? I kind of we have a lot of belief in Ali in the part of the opponents he's going to show us and the deals he's going to make with Bellator. So that's a lot of pressure off of like me. I don't want to be the person making those decisions, but um, I do believe we're going to need to step up in competition, which means we're going to have to evolve again. We're going to be facing tougher guys. We're going to start seeing some other weapons, some whatever it may be, ground game, people, good kickers, tall guys with good knees. So we're just going to have to keep building Archie up. And my focus for him is just to keep adding to his toolbox. We see that he's a great wrestler. His hands are getting better every fight. But, I think we're going to also develop his leg attacks. As you in the last fight, right off the bat, he attacked the leg hard,
Mhm.
right in the beginning of the round, which I think we would have we would have kept building upon throughout the fight without being, Archie's a short, powerful guy. We're not trying to have him standing out at range throwing long kicks. It's not great, but we can get our hands on people as a wrestler and hit them with devastating calf kicks and knees, elbows. So I feel like that's where we're going to keep evolving to, is just adding to the toolbox and adding building bridges between his wrestling and putting weight on people into attacks from the calves up to the head.
Mm-hmm. It seems like you guys are focused on all the right things. You're not focused on calling people out or the flashiness, the fight game stuff. You're just focused on improving day in, day out with each fight camp. So it's fun to see, and it's definitely working so far. So good to see. Last
Right
one,
on.
Justin J-Bomb Salas. I got a question for you. I finish every interview with this question. When it's all said and done, fighting, coaching, wrestling, this, that, and the third, what do you want people to remember most about Justin Salas above all else?
Well, I would just say that I'd just like to be a link in the lineage of MMA somewhere. Like I said, I have a lot of links under, training under Dwayne Ludwig, Nate Marquardt, Trevor Whitman, people like that have passed on, a lot of the Easton's guys, a lot of, also shout out to like John Crouch at the MMA Lab. I started with John Crouch and
Really?
Ben Henderson started the same day together with John Crouch here in Colorado. So,
Really?
uh, then they moved to Arizona, and I was actually supposed to be a part of that, and I didn't go down there for my own reasons. It was, nothing to them, or no, nothing like, nothing happened. It was just a life situation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they, I still love those guys and have a great relationship with Crouch. Every time I see him, I always give him a hug. He's a great person, and he's built a stellar thing down there. So, like I said, I just want to be a link in all that, and maybe one day just take the stuff I've been fortunate enough to get and be a guy who everyone can see that passed it on, passed the lineage on maybe to Archie. So who knows, what Archie's already inspiring hundreds of kids in wrestling. Maybe one day he's going to pass some stuff on. And so, I just like to be known that I was here and I was a student of the game, and I didn't just take and leave. I gave back and, tried to help change some of these other guys' lives.
That's a great answer, man. Seems like you're doing a lot of things right. You have a great mentality. You're focused on the right things. You're very passionate. I respect all of it, man. And it's cool to hear about John Crouch. I didn't know that. It's funny now. You're coaching Archie. He's coaching Bryce down in Arizona. So funny,
Yeah.
it's worked out.
Yeah, like I said, like I've said before, I've been real fortunate enough to see a lot of good coaches. So they're all those guys that I've collaboratively that I just said, I've I still think about them. I still pull from what I've seen them do, to try to help myself.
You're very young for a coach, man. I'm excited. You got a bright coaching future ahead of you. So good luck. Thank you for taking the time, Justin. It's always a pleasure. I'll see you at the next fight week, man.
Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Be good.
Yeah, you too.